All right, getting rolling. Light pause squats on Monday was good. Nothing really to say. Later on in the week, my squat was a little bit not great. But Monday went perfect. I mean, it's light. It's real light. Even for me switching things back up to high bar, it's not heavy. All right, and then here's my deadlifts from the same day. Uh, Trying to be a little bit less grip and rippy off the floor. So you can see I'm taking my time here. Uh, Definitely was sinking my hips too low because they shoot up immediately. It's the weird thing is like, if I'm hinge dominant, right, I gotta start with my hips high, and I just end up being a yanker. So something to figure out. Here's my block pulls. I gotta start with my back a little bit more rounded on these, just so that because you can see like my back doesn't round as I'm pulling; it just snaps into position right there. Then it stays where it is. So, all right, this is kind of like a side goal I had was being able to do a chin up with a plate. I got it for two. It's cool to have a side goal, especially like chin up will help my bench. It will help my deadlift and help my squat. So I think it's good to have side goals on your like accessory moves too. Here's my bench, volume bench this week. Pretty happy with this first set. Kind of blew my wad on the first set, which I kind of expected to do. So I'm not unhappy about it. I mean, 3 sets of 8 with 200 would be pretty awesome, but I wasn't in the cards. Didn't want to miss any reps, so. Got asked what RP is. RPE this is, and it's just I don't use RP, so RPE can't do anymore, or it would be a bad idea to do more. If you structure your training right, you can go pretty balls out. You know, most of the time, you don't always have to hold back. That's why I like concurrent training with like rotating stuff a lot more than standard block or linear periodization. Is you don't have to hold back because I'm not going to hit that weight threshold for another 3 weeks. So why not go all out? All right, here's my speed squats here. So the speed squats were not too bad. I think I could have done a better job keeping my knees forward on the way up. So yeah, knees forward, knees forward. Okay, that was a good one. Maybe it was the sets after. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I remember. These are a little dicey. I remember feeling my upper back kind of. I couldn't get my upper back quite into the position I wanted to. Didn't feel locked in, and you could see like my bar pass a little wiggly here. Nothing crazy, but it could be better. Especially the last rep is like the bar is out over my toes, I think. But once again, man, I'm just so hinge dominant that like squatting high bar, that's why I'm doing it to get better. But this is RDL. What I think I'm gonna do for my once I get into my like last 10 week prep block, I'm gonna take RDLs out, put pause deadlifts in, and then swap out my reverse hypers for single leg RDL because I have a bit of hip shift on my deadlifts, uh, and it's more competition specific to do some pause deadlifts. Will also help me be less of a grip and ripper, theoretically, because I just weirdly when I did this big cut, I just became a grip and ripper over time. I've never been great at building tension, but it did get worse. So something to work on. All right, so here's some other things that I was thinking about. Like, you can periodize your training. Obviously, high volume to peak. That is how all training works, or non-specific to specific. If you're doing like conjugate, your volume's the same year round. But like, if you're 8 weeks out, you're doing band assisted box squat, whatever, 3 chains and a hat on. But a few weeks out, it's like pause squat. So general to specific. But here's some things that you can periodize besides lifting: is your diet. Either dial it in more towards the meat, or grow into a meat or cut into a meat. Music, stuff that maybe doesn't get you as fired up when you're farther out, versus when you're getting close, get stuff that really fires you up and helps you lift heavy. Adherence. This is kind of like a general, and I barely wanted to put this in here to begin with because I think it sets the wrong impression. But things like sleep, hydration, just being good with all your other little variables. You're naturally going to want to be better about those things when you come towards the meet anyways. That's natural. But it's also good to not burn yourself out too much. So like when you're far out from the meet, go out with your friends for lunch or whatever. And then media intake. This is kind of something like maybe when you're far out, don't watch lifting content. And when you're coming close to a meet, watch lifting content. Or if you're like me and all you want to watch sometimes is lifting content, maybe when you're far out, you watch technique stuff because that's when you want to be working on your technique, versus when it's the end of the block, stuff that gets you more hyped up. Oh, and then equipment. For example, if you're far out, beltless, sleeveless, or even just doing lifts on non-competition equipment, doesn't hurt. Not that you need to go out of your way to find a worse barbell or whatever, but something to think about. Like when you're getting close to a competition, you want to be training more on competition equipment and in your competition gear. This is what I was listening to over the week. Once again, this is classic. It's heavy. It's deathcore. I said in the last video I'm not a deathcore guy. I'm gonna retract that. I like deathcore. Whitechapel's one of my favorite bands. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. I like Suicide Silence. I'm definitely more of a metalcore guy, but I can't go wrong with some good deathcore. And looking to coach people for free. I'm working on building my system. I like concurrent training, and my system is mostly based off the cube method. But I try to keep multiple things in mind, like Seth Albersworth's view of conjugate is something that has helped me a great deal, and I've applied a lot of that to my own training.